Welcome to the Blockchain Hustler, your exclusive VIP to the world of Web3. On this show, we delve deep and get up close and personal with the most pioneering founders, leaders, celebrities, disruptors, and creators who are shaping the future of blockchain and cryptocurrency. We're bringing you an all-access pass to the minds and strategies of the most influential players in the blockchain industry. Buckle up, it's time to hustle. My name is Julieta Ose, and I'll be your host. On today's show, we'll be having a chat with the awesome ladies of 48 Hours in the Metaverse, Briar and Georgia. Both producers and starring in the renowned Web3 documentary, taking on the insane challenge with, yep, you guessed it, spending 48 hours inside the Metaverse. With the question of what is the Metaverse on everyone's lips, Briar takes one for the team and does what no man or woman has done before. The journey takes her across 33 worlds within several metaverses and leads her into conversations with 21 metaverse world builders, CEOs, and thought leaders. So a huge welcome to you both.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
Wonderful. So, I mean, wow, what a journey it must feel for both of you. Firstly, like a huge congratulations on the premiere and the success for getting the word out there. I've seen stuff all over. And yeah, let's just dive right in. There's many questions I have and I'm eager to know the answers for. So personally, being in the Web3 space, I've come across a lot of conflicting views on the metaverse. Some people are terrified. Some people don't see the point, and some people are really excited with the possibilities that it may bring. Forbes recently wrote a piece called "This Metaverse documentary wants you to feel good about the metaverse." Would you say this is something accurate? Did the experience itself make you feel good about it?
Yeah, I think the experience certainly exceeded our expectations. We really didn't know what to expect when we first jumped into this. Georgia and I decided a few days before, we were like, right, I think this is becoming quite big. Let's book a hotel room. Let's get all of our crew in the same room. Let's go big or go home, so to speak. Yeah. And when we jumped into it, I remember our first experience was around the fire pit in a platform called Altspace. I didn't even know how to work the controllers at that point. And thankfully, a friendly avatar by the name of Kenneth started helping me. And so one of my very first experiences was making friends with someone across the other side of the world, going flying and having all sorts of wonderful conversations. And I thought, wow, this is a very social experiment. And I had not been expecting that.
Yeah. And I think another thing as well that was like nicely shocking for us was the community within Web3. Yeah. So as Briar said, it kind of started out as something which was a small experiment to kind of learn a little bit more about the metaverse, not only for ourselves, but kind of bring others along with the journey with us. And it was kind of because of the community that we would start speaking to people. They would put us in touch with other people. And then before we knew it, we had 21 thought leaders. So that's when we sort of decided that, this is actually bigger than what we once thought it was going to be. And we ended up making a documentary out of it.
Yeah. And as Georgia said, everyone put us in touch with all of these different people, and the community was just so warm and welcoming. And part of our discussions that we've had with a lot of people since the documentary is, if you are confused about what the metaverse is, just reach out to people. Everyone's really happy to share their expertise. Everyone's really happy to show you what they've done, the worlds they've built, and all of these things. But we saw so many from a visual standpoint as well. It really was quite incredible. We saw Burning Man. We were actually just at the Burning Man this morning as well. At 9 a.m. this morning, we arrived at the office to go to Burning Man.
That's
so
incredible.
That was really fun. And yeah, so just visually as well, just seeing everything and the different use cases too was also something that really fascinated Georgia and I. One of your favorites was VR Rocket, wasn't it?
Rocket VR. So we actually got in touch with them through a lady called Heather. So she's actually a cancer survivor herself. And she used Rocket VR during her treatment. So it's just another incredible way that VR can be used in, I think, ways that we never really imagined until we looked into it. And it is helping so many people when it comes to healthcare and mental health, in a way where, you know, these people are in hospital having like chemotherapy and things like that. And VR can really take them to a place that puts their mind at ease and kind of relaxes them a little bit. So that was personally my favorite that we visited on the day, because I just thought it was such a great cause and a great way to show how VR can sort of go beyond what people might imagine in the likes of gaming and things like that. And it's really helping people in the real world as well.
Wow. Yeah, that's so awesome. And I definitely want to dive in more about the possibilities and opportunities that the metaverse brings, but that's so incredible to hear. You've obviously touched on, you know, what basically inspired you and what you both found really exciting about the documentary piece. So what about the hard part? I mean, it was insane. You spent 48 hours in the metaverse. For those who don't know, there's a lot of challenges that come with that. Obviously, nausea being one of them. And when I say 48 hours, just to confirm, you were eating, you were drinking, you were pretty much doing absolutely everything within the metaverse. And what would you say was the hardest part about all of it?
Yeah, I was even brushing my teeth in the metaverse, you know? And so just to put it into perspective, just so everyone can start to visualize what we did. So our crew walked into a hotel room that morning. We had water. I had packed my bags for the metaverse, which certainly felt a little bit strange. So I had lots of sequency style dresses and things, just, you know, so that we could really tie in. Georgia, in the pre-production phase, she had customized all my avatars. She had set up all the different platforms, because not only were we just going to Altspace, you know, we were going to Glue, we were going to Spatial, we were jumping across different platforms. So obviously that also brought certain challenges in regards to technology, you know, signing in, signing out, and all of this. And I had to have my headset on the entire time. The only time I was allowed to take my headset off was if I was spending time on the likes of Decentraland or Roblox or Rec Room, which at the time Rec Room wasn't accessible via a Quest 2 headset, and neither is Decentraland or what was the other one I just mentioned?
Decentraland and Rec Room
and Roblox.
Roblox are all on.
So I would take my headset off, run over to be at the desktop and be on the desktop, and then put my headset back on. So spending such a long time in virtual reality, certainly, as you said, you know, brought cyber sickness, which really wasn't a pleasant feeling. I felt that the way you can describe cyber sickness is, you know how when you're on a boat and the water's really choppy and you've got that queasy feeling in your stomach and you've got that almost like that saliva coming up in your mouth and, you know, those hot flushes. It's really not a pleasant experience. And there was a point that I literally felt like I couldn't go on.
Yeah, wasn't there? Retching at one point. I thought she was going to be sick, but we got through it.
Yeah, so I certainly felt like I had to really, you know, grit through it and, you know, pull a lot of what I had together, because, you know, I think certainly even spending 48 hours doing anything is very challenging. And I slept in it. We had this really cool sleeping room that we found, which is literally like people go into VR chat to sleep in this room.
That's absolutely crazy.
So that was very interesting.
Oh my goodness. So, I mean, it's probably, I guess, something you wouldn't recommend, right? Spending 48 hours in the metaverse. Not straight up.
I wouldn't recommend spending 48 hours straight.
Yeah.
However, I would really recommend to people to experiment and to participate and to be curious, because that's ultimately how you learn. And, you know, this was the real driving factor for us, is we wanted people to be able to see what I could see on the headset. And it was just so amazing having our movie premiere in person in Dubai. A lot of the attendees that we had hadn't experienced a headset before. So they were absolutely fascinated by what I could see. And they were fascinated by the different use cases and all of the different worlds that we visited.
Yeah. And I think that was obviously one of the driving points as to why we decided to make a documentary out of it, was that the advice that we were kind of getting from everyone is the best way to learn what the metaverse is to just go in and experience it for yourself. But not everyone can go out and buy an Oculus headset. And I think you obviously can access some metaverse platforms on desktop, but it's just not the same immersive experience. So it was kind of with that in mind that we decided to film from a 3-camera perspective to give people as close to the real thing as possible, short of sort of going and buying an Oculus.
Absolutely. And I mean, it was executed wonderfully. I think watching it really kind of puts you in the shoes of being there and being in the metaverse of 48 hours. You know, I really enjoyed watching it, and I know everyone else will. Okay, and so what was something that you didn't expect, if there was anything?
I certainly didn't expect to enjoy the social aspect so much. You know, even this morning when we were in Burning Man, we were catching up with people that we'd met on our world hopping adventures. So we were seeing avatars that we recognized and being like, hi. And one avatar actually went like this to his friend and said, hey, those are the girls from that documentary, 48 Hours in the Metaverse. So we thought, how funny is this that we are, you know, recognizing each other as avatars. And, you know, we're, as Georgia said before, when you're an avatar, it's totally more immersive.
Yeah.
You know, you can see, you feel like you're in there. You can almost see the other person's facial expressions and hand movements, and you're there having the shared experience. You know, you can see the stars, or you can hear the crackle of the fire, and you move your head and the crackle of the fire sounds like it's over this way. So it very much is this immersive experience. And that was one of the things that I really enjoyed. And for you, I think you enjoyed the fact that we could appear as whoever we wanted to be.
Yeah, I think that was like the community, I think, was one of the things that sort of did really shock me, because it was actually my first week at work when we were working for Prestige Group and Briar. So that was my first week, and I was sort of building avatars and things like that. And I was just like, oh gosh, this job is completely different to anything that I've ever had before. But it was so fun. And yeah, I think before any of this, like, I didn't even really know what the metaverse was or anything. So for me to experience it and to see how much of a community there is, and how it, as you said, like, it is so social, everyone's connected, and it gives people a platform where they can be whoever they want to be, whether you want to have blue skin or pink hair, you can kind of do that. And it on a bigger level, it gives people who might be a little bit more introverted in real life the chance to express themselves in a completely different way.
Absolutely. And I know, Brian, you accidentally appeared, as a man at one point. And this then later inspired one of your new fashion brands. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, so that was a very interesting surprise when I had a female head in a male body when I appeared on Spatial at an event. But, you know, we just went with it, because why not? We're in the metaverse, you know, we can be whoever we want to be. So, the idea of you can be as fantastical as you want in the metaverse really did inspire our fashion label that we're going to be launching. So I had the opportunity, I think it was early on last year, to launch. I've got a real life suit label. It's so funny that these days I have to say I've got a real life fashion label. But the reason I have to say that is because we launched our spin-off NFT collection for avatars, and we showcased it at the world's first Metaverse Fashion Week on Decentraland. So I've already had the sort of entry and the experience of producing this label. However, Georgia and I really wanted to create something that was a little bit more out of this world. So we're about to launch Altair, which the idea behind it is it defies the rules of physics. And maybe you might want to expand on that a little bit more.
Yeah, so as Briar said, we're kind of breaking the boundaries of what traditional fashion might be, and the only place that we can do that is in the metaverse. So these dresses are defying physics; they're on fire, made of shards of glass,
Wow.
And it's all just to represent, I think, the message and the story that we got from 48 Hours, which was you can be whoever you want to be, and if you want to wear something super extravagant or something that you might not wear in the real world, then you can kind of do that in the metaverse. Mm-hmm. And I think as well, one of the things that we have sort of looked into when we've been researching and things like that is that there is a shortage of women in tech still. So we want to use Altair to kind of get the message out that tech isn't just for people who are like tech savvy and into computers. Like, there is a place for women in the metaverse, and I think that's something that is really important. And I know that you speak about that quite a lot, like when we've been to like the World Metaverse Show and GITEX.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's always really interesting when I do show up at events and, I'm talking about technology and then wearing 5-inch heels, people often think you can either just be one or the other, and Georgia and I really do want to inspire the younger generation that, you can be into tech, you can be into fashion, you can do all of these wonderful things, if that piques your interest. So one of the things that we've found challenging when it comes to the fashion label is that a lot of the things that Georgia and I wanted to do, the technology is just not there for us yet. We really wanted to have it so that our fashion label could be worn by avatars in an immersive environment such as Alt Space or Spatial and things. But because in this industry there are limited resources and it is quite a new industry, for brands like us, more boutique, smaller independent brands, there's not that technology yet. However, we have heard through the community and things like this that companies such as Ready Player Me and other organizations like this are going to make it more accessible for brands like us to be able to drop their assets onto the platform so that avatars can wear and be doing this easily. So at the moment, we're doing a lot of things like augmented reality. We've got NFTs. As I mentioned before, one of my fashion labels sits on Decentraland. So it's quite exciting actually to be at the forefront as this technology is developing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow, you have a lot going on. I'm not sure how you're managing all of this. This is very, very impressive. Awesome stuff. So you ladies have touched on all the incredible things that the metaverse can be used for, the opportunities, who it may be good for. However, let's look at the other side of the coin. What current dangers would you say that we face? And then how can we overcome these dangers within the metaverse?
I think we spoke to a guy called Lance Powell Jr. on the documentary. So he's written many papers about avatar ethics and how this could potentially be a threat. And I think it's kind of like anything. I mean, the main kind of concern would be that if people are turning up as avatars in the metaverse, would they act any differently to how they would in real life? And how we say you can be whoever you want to be in the metaverse, that could obviously have negative connotations as well. It might sort of sway people to behave in a way that they wouldn't morally in real life. But I think that what we have learned certainly is that the main thing and the most important thing is that the metaverse is still in the building phases. So I think as long as builders take that into consideration now and import that into their strategies whilst the metaverse is still being built in order to safeguard people in the future, and especially children, because, a lot of children are using metaverse platforms like Roblox is predominantly children. So I think that's something that is a concern, but it is something that can be tackled as well.
And circling on Georgia's point, something that I think is so fascinating is that our younger generation these days, they are growing up as digital natives. It's very common when I go to the gym, I see the other gym people, attendees, children, sitting there on their iPads, playing Roblox and things like this. For them, community doesn't come from social media. It comes from these immersive spaces such as Roblox and Rec Room and all of these wonderful things. So we need to start thinking, especially as world builders, marketeers, as parents, and as people guiding the next generation, what we need to be doing in order to safeguard them and ensure that they're safe and protected.
Yeah, great. That's fantastic advice there. In relation to my next question, I think I know the answer already, but would you say you both are spending more time on the metaverse?
Yeah,
definitely. And, since the 48 Hours in the Metaverse documentary, Georgia and I have produced a couple of world hopping productions.
Yeah.
So after the experiment that we did, Georgia, a few weeks later, put me in a shipping container with some cool lights in the background. And I think I traveled to maybe about 8 different worlds that day in the shipping container. And I had a smoke machine. It was very cool. It was like being on some kind of rock star stage or something, but in the metaverse. And, and it was just so many people who I speak to say that they get the world hopping bug. And I would certainly agree with that. Even this morning we were at Burning Man, catching up with all of the community. Incredible. And something that was quite sad, I guess, or, surprising is that you would have heard recently that Microsoft is laying off, quite a large amount of employees. And unfortunately, something that is going to be negatively affected is the platform Altspace is going to be closing down. And that was one of mine and George's favorite platforms to experience. And so this morning when we were at Burning Man, talking to everyone, it was quite bittersweet. Part of the reasons people really enjoyed Altspace is they felt like it was an older community. They felt like, they could go there and see their friends. And certainly when we were there, we were waving, oh, hi, to all of these people that we'd met in previous world hopping that we did. And by the sounds of it, a lot of this community is going to be migrating to VR chats because a lot of the worlds are built on a platform called Utility. Yeah. And it is easier to migrate it onto VR chats. But certainly we will have to find our community, in that specific platform as well and really make it into our own, because VR chat is typically or primarily for kids. Like there's a lot of kids on the platform. A lot of children. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I think, as Brian said, you definitely got the world hopping bug after the documentary, because I feel like once you see these amazing worlds and see how detailed they are and how much work and how much talent these creative people have, you just want to see more. And we've now been to, I think you're on over like 50 worlds now.
We have.
Like this. And that really inspired us as well to create. You had a collaboration with Slick Wraps, which was based on World Hopping Adventures. So it's like a 12-piece collection, and each piece is named after a world that Brian's visited. So yeah, and then another thing, obviously Brian uses an Oculus headset quite a lot, and we just thought it's pretty plain. So we kind of wanted to customize it in the way that you would an iPhone or a laptop. So yeah, they're all really stylish designs.
Yeah. So for anyone listening to this, if you want to look fashionable whilst wearing your Oculus, you can certainly go and buy our Slick Wraps on the Slick Wraps website. And something else that we were quite inspired about is we got an office for our PR agency, PR and executive branding agency, Prestige Group. So now we sometimes hold our team meetings in a penthouse in Vegas.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was really exciting. So it was really nice to have all of the team come together and to be able to, meet at this penthouse and to see the Vegas skyline. And it's got a helicopter, it's got a jacuzzi, it's got a dance floor. So that was really cool. And we got this from a company called Exclusable. Yeah. So I had to laugh at one point with Georgia. I said, I guess it's not every day that you're out brokering deals in real estate and the metaverse, for the company you work. So that was a really cool thing, and quite accessible as well. If anybody wants to have their own space but perhaps doesn't have the resources, the time to build something customizable, they can go onto OpenSea and purchase something from Exclusable. They've got penthouses in Vegas, Paris, Dubai.
I think they've got one in France as well.
France.
So that's kind of another thing as well about the metaverse, and especially with our penthouse, we've got staff all around the world, and it just gives you that little bit more. Like, you've got your avatar and they're sort of more interactable, and you're in these like amazing spaces, and it's just that little bit more immersive than the usual Zoom calls.
Yeah.
And I think, everyone that we speak to in the community of Web3 and well builders, they say that the metaverse really brought everyone together through the likes of COVID, when, you weren't allowed to go out of your house and socialize with people. So they made digital twins of places where, because you couldn't at the time get on a plane or anything like that, you could go and visit this 3D immersive digital twin of the space. And I think that's how Burning Man started, because obviously they had to cancel Burning Man through COVID, and then it's just been something that's kind of continued on, because now it gives people the option who maybe can't fly or just can't make the event, that they can get the next best thing in virtual reality.
Yeah, we were actually very fortunate after our premiere of 48 Hours in the Metaverse in Dubai. Some of our world builder friends who had been part of our documentary actually created a digital twin red carpet event. And it was really iconic almost to be at this red carpet event and to be looking over at Avatar, Georgia. And we had some branded metaverse popcorn, 48 Hours in the Metaverse popcorn.
Wow.
So we're sitting at this red carpet event, watching our documentary on the big screen, eating, because of course we're avatars, this branded 48 Hours in the Metaverse popcorn. And it was so iconic. And we did a press conference afterwards, because of course so many people who were part of our documentary were not able to attend our premiere in Dubai. So again, exactly what Georgia said, we were all able to come together in Alt Space to have this experience and to actually watch it together. It was very cool. Yeah, very cool. One of my top highlights of my life, I think. It was very cool.
Yeah,
absolutely. And is that the first premiere that's happened in the metaverse? Because I think it might be. I haven't heard of that ever happening before. I think that might be the first premiere.
I think for a film that was actually filmed in the metaverse, yes. But I know that our good friends Coles and Christy, who essentially built our premiere world, they took us to a red carpet premiere of Baba Yaga. So they basically did a digital twin of the premiere, and that was featured in our documentary.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And they had also built the digital twin of our red carpet event, as had Ben Irwin, who was part of our documentary as well. And it's called the Poly Awards. And I think they hold a lot of award shows at the Poly Awards. So they can customize it as they did for ours. And it was very cool.
Yeah. And I think what was really funny is because we had to obviously plan the in-person event, and you have event organizers and you're like, oh, we need an extra table, and it takes hours to get your extra table. Whereas in the metaverse, I'm like, oh, Christy, we need a table. And she's like, here we go. Straight away, 1 second, you can just pluck it up. Wow. So yeah, it was much easier to plan the metaverse event than it was the in-person event.
Fantastic. All right, so what is next? What is next on your plates? What projects you have? I mean, you've mentioned quite a few projects that you have on the horizon, but is there anything else you'd like to go into? What your next moves are? What should people be looking out for?
Prestige Group has been exploring as to how we can build personal brands in the metaverse. So we've obviously been collaborating and signing lots of partnerships with lots of companies across the board in regards to real estate and custom avatar design and, all of these wonderful things. So, because when my agency, Prestige Group, is my first business. And when I came up with the idea 7 years ago, it was certainly a little bit before its time. It was before executives and CEOs were building their brands on social media. People were only posting on LinkedIn if they were hiring or looking for a job. So where we see the metaverse now is kind of where we saw that. Yeah. Again, we're a little bit before our time. However, we know that in 7 or 10 years' time, as marketeers, we're going to have to be drastically rethinking how we are marketing to the masses, because as we discussed before, the younger generation are growing up as digital natives, and if we're going to be communicating to them and marketing to them, they're not going to be on the likes of Facebook or Instagram. They're hanging out in these communities. So we're very much trying to stay at the forefront of this, exploring it, which is quite exciting because no one's handing us a roadmap. We're very much innovating and
paving the way.
Paving the way, exactly right. We've also got a custom cat avatar that we've been designing, which is me if I was a cat.
I see.
Sometimes I actually look at my cat sleeping during the day and I think about how wonderful it might be to be a cat. But the whole inspiration behind it is that curious cat. And again, you can be whoever you want in the metaverse. So that's been quite exciting to work on. And we've got another documentary which Georgia has just started producing. So do you want to tell them a little bit, but not too much about it?
Yeah, I'll give you a little sneak
hint.
A little hint. So for our second documentary, we're kind of edging more towards exploring AI and robotics and human advancement. Because, it's really, as Brian said, we've got all these projects going on and the main thing for us right now is just to be kind of advocates of the future and roll with the times and sort of keep our finger on the pulse with what everyone is interested in and what people want to know more of. And what we've found recently is that everyone is getting more and more curious about AI. And about whether this is a threat to us, a threat to humanity. So that's something that we definitely want to explore in the second documentary. And in the same way as we did in the first documentary, we really want to take the viewers along with us in that discovery. So we'll certainly be throwing Briar into another experiment. This one may or may not be a little bit more painful and radical. Than the first one. But yeah, we shall see.
I'm prepared to take one for the team, if it allows me to be better, faster and stronger and to work more effectively, I'm like, put it in my body, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this one. Really fascinating. Oh, wonderful. It's been so lovely to chat to you girls. So where can people find you? Where can people watch 48 Hours in the Metaverse? What's your Twitter handles? Throw it all out.
Yeah, so people can visit our website, which is 48hoursinthemetaverse.com, with the numbers being 48. And you can also watch the full series on YouTube. There's also lots of links to our world hopping adventures. You can visit my website, which is briarprestigeofficial.com.
And we also post quite a lot on Briar's LinkedIn, so Briar Prestige on LinkedIn, and we give a lot of behind the scenes and articles and things like this, so you can kind of follow along the journey.
And you can also find Georgia on Georgia Smither. She's on LinkedIn. I also drag her into a lot of my YouTube videos and things as well. So you'll definitely find her there too.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for your time, ladies. And I really wish you all the best of luck with your future adventures. And I will definitely be keeping an eye out with everything that you bring out. So thank you again.
Thank you so much for having us on your show. It's been a real pleasure.